Okay. Oh, that looks good.
At it again.
And this is Karen with newclevelandradio.net, and it is time for What in the World with Paul Seaburn and his sidekick, John Donalo. And we're back after a week off. How do you like that?
Yeah, I think it's great. if you're talking to me, Karen Hale, I think it's great. I'm so glad to be back. My computer was not glad to be back. So we've been dealing with computer issues here, but I think I'm not going to jinx us. I'm just going to say, let's do the show.
Sounds good.
So yeah, it's me. After 2 weeks off, it's me, Paul Seaburn, your host of What in the World with me, Paul Seaburn. Everybody's favorite weird news show. Real news, sometimes strange, always funny is our motto. We're coming to you, hopefully, if you're listening to us live or watching us on YouTube, great. Thank you so much for doing that. If you're listening to us in the future, either in your ear over Spotify and all that good stuff, or on YouTube, thank you for joining us. Then I am, again, I'm not going to tell you who I am again. You can find out. I'm the head writer and editor at mysteriousworld.org. The other voice in your ear so far is Karen Hale, the media mogul at newclevelandradio.net, our platform, host of many, many podcasts. She's got more podcasts than you know what to do with. Really good podcasts. So go visit newclevelandradio.net. Check them. First, check us out, of course. Then check all the rest of the podcasts she has. Karen is also our producer and co-host, and you'll be hearing from her in a minute. Also, finally, he's been waiting patiently, my old buddy and Browns fan extraordinaire, John Donalo. John, give us a quick update. How do you feel about the Browns?
You know, Paul and Karen, very, very excited. For those of you who live in the Cleveland area and follow the Cleveland Browns, the original Cleveland Browns that left here in 1995, the Cardiac Kids are back.
Yeah.
Great thing. That's right. Cardiac Kid.
Think of this, though. You have two quarterbacks last week that played in the game, okay? The Colts versus the Browns, okay? They're both second-string quarterbacks. One team scores 39, the other team scores 38. So there's 5 different things that were taking place. But yeah, if you're not drinking during the game, I think by the end of both of those games, you would have had to put a few down because just kind of left you on the edge of the seat. In fact, I was at the 49er game with my brother, and there was a San Francisco 49er fan next to us. And we had a couple of things going back and forth or whatever. And actually, right at the end of the game, he just, of course, had to leave. You know, I think he was saying, the 49ers, and this is true, they had 2 of their star players knocked out of the game. So I think that's kind of where he was going. But listen, Cleveland,
part of the game.
Cleveland gets the win. Cleveland gets the win on Sunday, and big game in Seattle on Sunday coming up. So let's go, Browns.
That's right. Go Browns. Okay. And go What in the World? But we've been off for 2 weeks. I got all kind of stories. I got shout outs galore. So let's get right started and get started right away. And I'll explain to you where I was last week as part of the show. So what do we got coming up today? We've got a haunted museum in Virginia. That's where I was last week. A strange wedding in Michigan. Boy, wait till you hear this. In fact, I was also at a wedding last week. So we'll talk about that for a second. Aliens and shopping carts in England. Ooh, great story. Yeah. John, you know, I've been saving them up. I've got 2 Loch Ness stories from Scotland, but get ready. I'm wearing my Bigfoot shirt. I have 3, count them, 3 Bigfoot stories with photos. So get ready for that.
The photos make it, Paul and Karen. You know, the photos make it either one way or the other.
You better believe it. But one of them is a story that's been on the mass media for the past week now from Colorado. The only reason they beat us is because we were off last week. Otherwise, we would have been talking about it last week.
Okay.
One from Canada, one from England. The world's worst criminals. I don't normally do criminal stories, but these 2 were the worst funny criminals. One in Spain, one in Poland. We're going to talk about them. Plus some more odd news, some world records. I got a couple of world records trivia. John has a great sport for us with a very personal connection for both of us. So stick around. Oh, and of course, we always play everybody's favorite weird news game, Bluff the Co-host. So let's get right to it. Number of shout outs this week. First one, I was attending a wedding in Asheville, North Carolina last week. My honorary nephew, Tristan, married the love of his life, Taylor. Wonderful wedding. We had a great time there. Tristan, you don't know, but you know his parents, Tex Chick and her high maintenance import husband. So we got to spend some time with them and had a great time, talked about the show, plugged it to everybody at the wedding. On the way down, we stopped in Wytheville, Virginia, and beautiful city. And we visited the 1870 Octagon Museum. In fact, I think I have a couple of photos of it here. Let's try our share screen here while we're doing it. There we go. There's our logo. And there we go. Okay, so this is this house, this museum, this octagonal building was built in 1870. The octagon's in the middle. There's two wings on the side. The owner is a historian by the name of John Cushman. He gave us a personal tour along with his wife, Debbie. Wonderful people. They introduced us to all the ghosts that live here, including the Reverend Dexter Snow, who comes to visit them. Let me back up a minute here. What kind of museum is it, John? It's mostly a Civil War museum.
Really?
John Cushman, yeah, lifelong reenactor, but even more importantly, since the age of 4, he's been collecting souvenirs, photographs, uniforms, weapons he started with the Civil War. He's since expanded it all the way back to the Revolutionary War, all the way up to the 1970s in the United States. They had to tear us away because we had to go to the wedding. I could have stayed there for days.
Paul, real quick, what part of Virginia is this museum located in? What part of Virginia?
It's in Wytheville. If you take I-71 south until it ends in Wytheville. Okay. So you can't miss it. It's in the western portion of Virginia.
We were in Virginia in September, visiting Richmond and a number of other Civil War sites, as well as Yorktown.
This is on the other side of the state.
The other side of the state, right? Okay, well, that's very good. Very interesting.
Cool stuff on battles. I was fascinated, but the ghost was what really got me. And these guys, John Cushman, came up with a brilliant idea. He holds a dinner called Dinner with a Ghost, and you can come there and his wife Debbie serves dinner for the people. I think it's maybe 20 people. I think is the limit, and she makes a wonderful dinner, including pecan cheesecake. I'll go just for the pecan cheesecake. I don't even care about the ghost. And this the Reverend shows up and communicates with them. So a very fascinating thing. I think I have another photo of. There we go. Dinner with a ghost. That's it. If you can't go to Wytheville, you can contact them, and they will come to your city and host the Dinner with a Ghost. I guess the Reverend comes. I wasn't quite sure about that. Maybe some ghosts from your city. I think I've got one more photo here. Let's take a look and see. There we go. Also, ladies' night with a ghost, which there's ghosts. It's a brilliant idea. It's a wonderful, fun place. John and Debbie are just great people. I don't know what else to say other than to give you their phone number. 503-569-4753 is their phone number, or Google Octagon Museum in Wytheville, and you get all the information. So again, John and Debbie, thank you so much for being such wonderful hosts to us down there. Sounds like we had more fun there than we did at the wedding, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Well, it was different.
I don't want the wedding was just a fabulous, great couple, great friends of theirs. We had a wonderful time. Okay, now you know how much we love hearing from our fans, and we have a huge fan in a state that I drove through to get to the wedding, and that was West Virginia. The fan I'm talking about is Brian down in West Virginia. John went to school with them. I went to school with his brother. We know him. We've known him for a long time. Huge fan of the show. Here's how big of a fan he is. he heard our story a couple of weeks ago about the guy who set the record for the world's largest built structures made out of playing cards. Remember that?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. So I mentioned that one of the buildings was a church, and I said it must not be a Catholic church because the rules are that the only kind of cards you can use to build a Catholic church are bingo cards. So Brian sends me bingo cards.
Whoa.
Yeah. He said these are for you to start
wow.
a church so we can set a record of the biggest church made out of bingo cards.
All
So
right.
John, expecting you to help me on this.
I'll pitch you in over there, Paul. Sure. No problem. That'd be fun.
Now, to tell you how big of a fan Brian is, he said he bought them at the Inconvenience Store, which was another story we talked about. I'm going to tell you, Brian is one of two people, two of our fans who actually take notes while they're listening to the show.
Whoa.
Thank you, Brian.
So Brian, thanks so much. I wanted to mention, the people ask me all the time, do they really play bingo at Catholic churches? And as a matter of fact, they do. And it goes back to bingo was started in 1570 in Italy, John. I didn't realize this. It's actually an Italian game.
Okay.
Came to the United States in the 1920s, and this guy printed 12 bingo cards and kind of distributed them. It was in Pennsylvania. Wilkes-Barre, I think, is the name of the city. And a local parish, the priest heard about it, and the parish was doing bad, and he needed to raise some money. And he thought, oh, well, this would be a great way to hold a fundraiser for the church. So he bought a set of the cards and held a bingo night. And unfortunately, he had to give away too many prizes because there were only 12 cards, so it was easy to win. So he contacted the guy and explained his dilemma. So he printed thousands and thousands of different combinations. The actual number of combinations today, mathematically, is into the quadrillion, quintillion. So it's really hard to have two bingo cards the same. So the priest in Wilkes-Barre, he saved the church, he saved the parish school, and the Knights of Columbus at the church were so happy, they helped put it on, that they told other Knights of Columbus branches around the area, and pretty soon other churches were buying bingo cards and using it as a fundraiser, and the rest is history. So little bit of, I don't know, can you hear my horn? Trivia horn there?
No.
No, it's turned off. Okay, well, we're not going to mess with it. We don't want to mess with it. Okay.
That's right. Don't make success.
All right, let's see. So again, thank you, Brian, for that. I also got the Sunday before the wedding, I spoke at the MUFO Convention in Belleville, Ohio. I think I mentioned this. I may have mentioned this. A great bunch of people. MUFO is the Mutual UFO Network. They are a nationwide organization of UFO sighting investigators. They know so much. They know everything there is to know about investigating UFOs. I gave them a humorous talk on some of my favorite funny alien stories, and just had a ball with them. So if you see a UFO, look up MUFON, MUFON, and there's all the information there on how to report it, and they'll come out and visit you, and maybe you'll be one of the people that they certify as a real UFO sighting. Okay, so let's get to some weird stories, because I had so many, such a backlog. I'm backed up with stories here. First one comes from Cyprus, the island of Cyprus. The guy's name is Aristolus Valoratitis. And I'm sure I mispronounced that. If you're listening, I'm sorry. He set a new Guinness World Record, our first record of the day, for glass dancing. Okay, glass dancing. John, have you ever heard of glass dancing?
I'm going to have to say, Paul and Karen, I have not.
You don't go to enough tailgate parties. I've seen people doing glass dancing all the time.
All right, okay.
Not this kind, though. Here he is. Here's a picture of him. So, Aristoteles set the world record when he balanced 319 wine glasses, stacked wine glasses, on his head and performed a dance routine for 20 seconds. He had to do it for 10 seconds to get the record, and to show how good he was, he did it for another 10 seconds. 20 seconds with, how many of that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It looks like 8 layers of wine glasses stacked on his head. He said He said he could have gone for longer, but somebody put some money in the jukebox and played Eric Burden's "Spill the Wine," and that was it.
I did the whole thing then.
You remember that song? That's right.
Oh,
He
yeah.
actually, the guy's a financial analyst during the day, and at night he goes to the restaurant and he does this for tips. He balances glasses on his head and dances. Makes waiters cry because he's got so many of them on his tray. They can barely get a couple on. I tried this. I can balance one glass on my head, but the only dance I can do is the slide. So remember the slide? I don't know.
Yes.
Sure.
I'm
People
sure
say
there's
that
a song that
slide
goes.
already. Oh, yeah.
The only song that this reminded me of was that famous song by the Drifter. John, I know you remember this one. It goes the last line is, "Oh, darling, save the glass dance for me." Where's my horn?
You got the horn over there?
I'm sorry, we're not picking up the horn. I didn't pay my horn bill last week. I
Okay.
was off.
Yeah.
Okay, this one comes from Facebook. I like to put my stuff, some jokes out on Facebook. So those of you who are on Facebook, please look me up, friend me, like me, do a follow, whatever it is you do, and you'll get to see some of these stories early. This one comes from Munich, Germany, and Croswell, Michigan. So a couple from Munich, Germany, and 23 of their guests flew from Germany to Croswell, Michigan, so that the couple could get married at the place where they met, McDonald's.
Oh my gosh.
Can you
Oh
believe that?
no.
So here they are posed with grimace. And the reason why they're posing with grimace is because that's the expression that her father had on her face when he found out he had to pay for a wedding in Michigan from Munich at a McDonald's.
Wow.
They must not, apparently they don't have McDonald's in Munich because the people in Munich have something else besides McDonald's. They have good taste is what they have.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
Now, I can relate to this because the lovely Donna and I go to the restaurant that we met at every year on our wedding anniversary. We go to the restaurant that we met at, Burntwood Tavern, which is in Brecksville, Ohio. John remembers it as the Old Spanish Tavern. I know John's been there many times under all the names, as I do. We didn't want to get married there, though. We like going to dinner. We didn't want to get married.
Guys. Good choice there.
Yeah, well, they don't allow bingo for one thing. So, and also they don't allow polkas, and we had a polka band for our wedding. So,
Sure you did. Of course.
yeah. So, speaking of food and restaurants, get ready for this, Karen. This is a photo you're not going to like. A
Okay.
high-class restaurant in London is getting criticized for their new dish. It's called Le Grand Coq Pie, French, because it contains cooked chicken wings and chicken feet, and sticking out through the crust. I'll put the photo up as I say it. Sticking out through the crust is the chicken's head. The chicken's
No.
head out of the pot pie.
Oh, that's gross.
Wow.
Yeah, the diners must remove the head on their own before digging into it. Unlike people who eat at KFC, see, it's not finger licking good. They said it's more like finger flipping good.
At least on the surface, if I offer my opinion on this, I don't think a lot of people are going to order that dish knowing they have the head of a dead chicken out.
You'd be wrong. It's one of the most popular dishes there.
Really?
I'll tell you what, the chicken head in a pie sounds like those songs we used to sing in grade school. Old country tunes. Yeah, chicken head in a pie, waiting to die, blah blah blah. Anyways, people who ate it said it was nothing to crow about. Even little Jack Horner said, "I'm not sticking my thumb in there." So. Believe it or not, the goal of the restaurant and dishes like this is to waste no food. So they use absolutely every single piece of the chicken to make their dishes, including but it takes them a year. But after a year, they save up enough little tiny chicken tongues to make a chicken tongue burger out of it.
Oh,
So
no.
Oh,
not only that, and I looked for a picture of this. You can also get a chicken leg corn dog with the chicken's foot sticking out of the end of the corn dog.
no. Where
which-
is this restaurant, did you say?
It's in London.
Okay, I'm not going there.
Well, I don't know about the head out of the pie, but the foot out of the corn dog I kind of like because you can use it to pick your teeth after you're done.
Oh, boy.
Now, John, I think you ought to have this for your next Super Bowl party. I think something like that would be great.
No,
And then-
I think we'll come up with a new dish, but this would be a hard sell with Annette. I mean,
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay. I knew you would say that, and the lovely Annette, we always want to appease her. So here's a dessert that is also served there. It's called chicken fat cream caramel covered with a chicken skin crumb.
oh,
Just like Mom used to throw away.
Yeah.
yeah, right. Oh, my God.
So I thought there's our food story for this week. I think we're done with here. Okay. All right. John's been waiting patiently for the Bigfoot and Loch Ness Monster story. So let's get right to Bigfoot first. 3 Bigfoot stories this week, or as I like to call it, a Sasquatch à trois from the French story there. So the first one made the mainstream media. This one came from Colorado. I saw it on the news while we were out of town. We didn't cover it last week because it happened on the day we did the show. So Shannon Parker, I'll put the picture up so Karen doesn't have to look at that chicken
Thank you. I
head
appreciate that.
anymore. Shannon
Oh,
Parker and her husband were riding the Durango and Silverton narrow gauge railroad through Colorado when they saw a hairy figure strolling on the hillside just south of Silverton City. Now, I have an arrow pointing to the hairy figure in case you can't see it. John, reserve your comment on this one for a second
Okay, I will.
She took a picture. No, that's not it. I don't
Oh,
think
that's
that's
not
it.
it?
No, that's lower.
Oh,
That's what she said. I heard somebody say that at the wedding, and I thought, oh my God, no, I haven't heard anybody say that in a long time. So I said I'd find an opportunity and use it on the show. So there you go. So she showed it to train employees, and they said that they thought it looked like Bigfoot. So here's another photo, a little closer. Now this is very, very tightly zoomed in here, so it's quite blurry. But I think you can see a face. Karen, I don't know if you even have to circle that one. So she said that she saw it walking across the hill, and then it sat down. And which I said, of course it sat down. It's a sat squatch. And it looked, she said it looked like it was looking for something. And I said, well, of course he found what he was looking for. He found some toilet paper. That's why he sat down.
Oh, boy.
So hold on before you give me that look of disdain, John. Here's another one of the Bigfoot sitting down and looking around. A lot of people who saw this on the media said that it was a hoax by the tourist bureau of the area. They hired somebody in a Bigfoot suit because they wanted to increase tourism in the area.
There's 2 people there.
I have one more photo here. Yeah, I have one more photo. Okay.
But there's
But
2
a
people there.
spokesperson for the city denies it. Let's see. Here we go. Okay. So if you Google the Silverton Bigfoot or call it Colorado Bigfoot, you can see a video of it actually walking across the hill. This is a still shot of the Bigfoot walking across the hill before it sat down. Now, John, you're our Bigfoot expert. So what do you think of those photos there before I tell you what the other experts say?
Sure. I would say the last one that we're looking at here, okay, is probably the most credible one. But it stands to reason if there's a progression, couldn't the person take a photo of the creature in a little bit of a different area? I mean, still, it's too speculative for me. This third photo, the first 2 are definitely out. But I'm just thinking that somehow, yeah, there's there's nothing there for me, those first two. But the last one, a little better, but by the same token, not clear enough, not even close. Actually, the creature, if that is the creature, blends right into the terrain. I mean, that's what I see.
Wow. Spot on, John. Spot on. The that last one, the video is better, of course. And you can see something walking across the hill. Now,
Right.
yeah, I checked with some Bigfoot experts, and what they said was the first problem that they have is that it seemed like the person on the train knew exactly where to point their camera, like extremely far away, and yet they were able to see this tiny little dot on the hill, which eventually led them to watch it and come out. So it's like they knew ahead of time that something was going to happen. And then the second problem they had was that it seemed to be walking in a predetermined route, and the person on the train even knew when it was going to sit down. So most of the experts believe that this was a hoax. They're not going to say who set it up, but they think that it was a hoax. They think the person on the train was in on it. And it's too bad. It's too bad because an awful lot of people, like I said, it was picked up by the mainstream media because it looked like it was a good photo, and they really played it up. Okay. All right. Second one comes from Canada. Good analysis there, John. Thank you. So this one comes from Sonny Vader, who is in the Banff National Park in the Canadian Rockies. I believe that's in British Columbia. And he was in a hunting blind spot where he saw a Bigfoot, which he said got peed off. He used a different word at a hunter, and he was close enough. He was only 25 feet away and got facial features. And as he puts it, this MFer was PO'd. Okay, except he used the other words.
Okay.
So there we go. So there's the first photo of it. And Karen, I did your job for you. I put
Thank you.
put
Appreciate that.
on that one. So you can see the facial features on that one pretty clearly. But this is a different Bigfoot or Bigfoot costume than the other one. It's much furrier around the head. Would you say, John?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I agree on that.
Okay. All right. Now, he said it was PO'd. The reason why he said it was PO'd is the next picture here, where if you look to the right, the Bigfoot is swinging a club or a tree trunk at another tree. And if you Google the video, BANFF Bigfoot, and then you'll find it. He's taken a massive swing, a really good cut, and banging it against that tree. Now, our friend Don in Florida, who has heard Bigfoot knocking, he always talks about the Bigfoot knock. I'm not sure that this Bigfoot is knocking. I think it's either mad or it's trying out for the Houston Astros, who could have used a slugger like that in their game last night, which they lost to the Texas Rangers. So, John, what do you think of that one?
I'm sorry. I mean, there are some features that are impressive, but overall, I'm not convinced. I'm sorry.
It's the guy. It's a close up. You can see the trees and everything. It's pretty good. Although the Bigfoot is behind bushes, so strategically placed that you can't get a clear shot. He also said that it was 7 feet tall, but there's no way that we can tell whether what the height is. And the fur, it's really an odd looking Bigfoot with the fur on the head. You don't see that very often. So again, good analysis, John. I agree with you there. All right. So now we go to Portugal to England of all places, where there's a large group of people who look for Bigfoot. I've got a footprint here. Let's see. There we go. So this is a footprint that this young boy, 15 years old, he's Daniel Barnett. He's a Bigfoot researcher. He has a podcast called Mythical Legend, where he interviews people who have seen Bigfoot in England. And he's in Windown Forest and found this picture of a footprint. And he took DNA samples of the inside of that footprint and sent them to a lab in Portugal. And so far they haven't said one way or the other if it's Bigfoot, but they did say whoever it is has a bad case of athlete's foot and probably could use the shower. So so I don't know, John, what do you think? That's all the information I have on that one.
It is a footprint. It appears to be a footprint, right?
Yeah.
But again, with not having like a sequence to really look at, like, not to be funny, like, where's this footprints before and after? I mean, it doesn't.
I know.
Yeah,
that's right. It's the standard comment. I don't even see any toes. I'm not sure. I can see maybe one big toe, but
could have been a couple of kids out there playing around, and just making
could be.
around.
Could be. Okay. All right. Well, there's our Bigfoot stories. Hang on, stick around for a little while. I got the Loch Ness Monster coming up. But while we're talking about showers, the CEO of Levi's, the jeans people, released a new commercial where he talks about taking a shower with his jeans on. And he said it's a better way to clean your jeans than putting them in the washing machine because the microfibers don't go into the sewage system and end up, being eaten by fish, and then we eat them and we all have this buildup of microfibers. Now, everybody on Facebook, when I posted this, said he's missing something. If the microfibers aren't in the washing machine, then they're going down the drain in your shower to the same place. So, I'm not sure what he was trying to accomplish with this. I've showered with my clothes on a number of times, never intentionally, and I was usually surprised. John, maybe you've been there. I was surprised when I finally woke up and realized I was in the shower.
Depends what kind of.
Once you take a shower with your jeans on, your jeans suddenly become relaxed drip jeans, not relaxed fit.
Okay.
Don't shower in hot water though, by the way, because then they shrink and you're in real trouble. You never get them off, right? Okay, so this was a big story in the surprisingly in the UFO field this week. I'll put the photo up here while I explain it because it's just such an odd thing. So this comes from the Malvern Shopping Park in Worcestershire, England. Employees came out in the morning when the sun came up, and they found a shopping trolley, which is what they call carts in England, a shopping trolley on top of the lights, the lights that light up the parking lot. So 32 feet high, there's a shopping trolley attached to the top of the light. It was obviously not in Aldi's, because if it was Aldi's, people would be climbing the pole to get it down. They don't do that in England. I said it's got to be a helicopter parent who was a shopping college student. And
who knows?
Yeah. So believe it or not, that's a good answer, John, because they haven't figured it out yet. Some of my friends at MUFO said that it was aliens returning the cart from the flying saucer as they said.
Yeah.
And I said it couldn't be aliens. Aliens have their own grocery store. It's called the Black Hole Foods. Black Hole. There we go.
Get that horn out. Will you get that horn out?
So, John, since you missed the horn so much, what do you think? Do you think how would you get a cart up there like that? Any ideas?
It's too much for me to think about, Paul and Karen. And audience. I mean, really. I mean, I see it. Okay, it's strange, but I don't know. There's other things I've got going on that I want to think about instead of like how this cart got up there. But it's hard to explain.
Well, they had to call the fire department, of course, and they actually have a special group called the Worcestershire Fire and Rescue Service, which has a special rope rescue team. So they use the rope rescue team, which is normally rescuing cats, I guess, in trees, climb up and take it off and drop it back down. So, I'm sure they were glad for a change of pace from saving cats.
Sure.
Okay. Funniest crime stories that I've seen in a while. First one comes from Spain. Alicante, Spain. So police have finally arrested. I've got a picture of him here. There he is. Okay, this guy, they finally arrested him. He's 50 years old, 50-year-old man who scammed at least 20 restaurants by ordering an expensive meal, then faking a heart attack to avoid paying the bill. So now they caught him. Now he's facing jail time. And even worse, once he's in jail, he'll be visited by the ghost of Red Fox for stealing his act.
Oh yeah, good one. Oh wow.
Yeah. I thought maybe he was faking the heart attack to get women to give him mouth to mouth, but when as soon as they started coming out with those big defibrillators, those big battery operated things to hit him on the chest and shock him back, he suddenly stood up and said, "It's a miracle," and ran out the door.
People go to all kind of lengths, obviously. Wow.
Exactly, John. So you're of the right age, and I know you watched Sanford and Son.
Oh yeah.
What was it that Red Fox used to say when he had a heart attack? Do you remember?
I'm coming, Elizabeth.
That's right. He said, "It's the big one. I'm coming. I'm coming to join you, Elizabeth." Very good. Very good. Ironically, and I forgot this. Ironically, Red Fox actually died of a heart attack. He collapsed on the set of his new television series that he was filming at the time, The Royal Family, which is a lesson to all of us. Eat right, quit smoking, and don't mess with the royal family, and you won't have a heart attack.
Okay, words to live by.
There you go. So here's the other criminal. This guy is in Warsaw, Poland. He pretended to be a mannequin in a department store window and stood there for hours, not moving until the store closed. No one apparently noticed this. And when the store closed, he proceeded to rob the jewelry counter, taking all the jewelry from the jewelry counter. And he would have gotten away, but it's really hard to run after you had a mannequin stick up your butt for 6 hours.
Oh my.
So, I've heard of doing this in a butcher shop. I've heard of people pretending to be a mannequin in a butcher shop, which is how the song "Who Stole the Kishka"
Okay.
was inspired. This is why clothing stores in the United States always clean their mannequins with a feather duster, because if it really is a human, they'll sneeze and that'll be the end of it. Right. Yeah. So there he is standing there. He doesn't even look like a mannequin to me. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, convincing.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. So let's get to our Loch Ness Monster stories here. So everybody knows that my favorite monster is the Loch Ness Monster. First story is from a guy by the name of Charles Rankin. Charles claims that the Loch Ness Monster is... Oh, wait. No, here's the first one. I don't want to get out of order here. Okay. So this is the new Loch Ness Monster sighting. This is being called by the people who keep track of all this stuff the best Loch Ness Monster photo of 2023. So I'm going to put that photo up here for John and everybody. So there's the unadulterated photo, and then I'll put the adulterated one up there so you can see exactly what we're talking about there. But there's a magnification of it and an arrow pointing to where it's at. He said, John Howie is his name. He said he watched the creature, which he estimated to be 12 to 15 feet long. Looks like a neck and a body, just like the classic Loch Ness Monster photos. Moved slowly across the water towards the right before it disappeared into the water, and he never saw it again. Now, this was the 8th Loch Ness of 2023. So if this is the best one, this is obviously it's a low bar, because the rest must have looked like logs. If you remember some of the ones we've showed on the show before. So John, what do you think of this one?
I guess it's in the realm of possibility. I'll give it that ranking or that rate, but I don't know. Not convinced.
No, no. At least it's not the guy who's in Ireland who sits in his easy chair and watches the video
That
24/7.
guy, right?
That was
Okay.
actually there
Yeah.
at the lock.
He's trying to create them himself.
Yeah, there's a wave. There's some kind of wave in front of it. I don't know what that could be. If a boat went by.
Again, I'm going to say this probably for at least in this show, the last time. Why don't people either get into a better position to get closer or get a more powerful tool or device to take the picture with? I mean, that just stands to reason.
So, John, what you're saying is you want people to go into the lock where they see a monster and walk across the water where the monster might eat them.
No, but get closer.
Nope.
I don't. It just doesn't.
I know.
Yeah, I just throwing it out there as a foil. That's all.
I get it. This is I agree with the people out there that it at least closer to looking like a monster than normally. Now, but this is by far one of the best. This next one, one of the best Loch Ness monster legends that I've heard. This is the first time this story is coming out. It actually happened in 1942, and believe it or not, the British government actually keeps a record of a lot of these sightings, and it keeps them secret. So some researchers made a Freedom of Information request to the British government, and they found out about this one. In 1942, a man named Charles Rankin claimed that the Loch Ness monster was dead because he found the body. He cut it up and burned it, and whatever he had left, he still had some bones and some ashes, and he buried them beneath the St. Ninian School in Gourock, Scotland in 1942. But back then it wasn't the school, it was something else. I think I have it written down here somewhere. So he says, I decided to dispose of the carcass because the smell was getting really bad, and it had to be done before the tide flowed. I'm not sure why. So he cut it up into manageable pieces and he removed it to the town's incinerator ground. So before it was a school, there was an incinerator there. Not the best place to build a school, but it's England. So he said the remains were buried there. I had in mind to dig them up later once the flesh had decomposed, but I got transferred out of Gourock in 1942 and the opportunity was lost. 1946. So he was there for 4 years, never had another chance to dig it up again to prove it. And of course, you can't find it now because it's buried under parking lots and God only knows what, probably the kids' soccer field.
Well, just to throw this out, Mr. Rankin, there were cameras in 1942, right?
Oh, good point, John. Good point. Good lead into what he did. He drew a picture of it. Because as you point out, while there were pictures, were cameras in 1942, the Royal Navy somehow found out about it and would not let him take a photo of the remains of the carcass before he cut it up.
That makes sense to me. Sure. Okay.
Yeah. So he made a drawing. So here's the drawing revealed. There you go. The secret monster of Gourock. Now that looks pretty good, John. You got to admit.
Yeah, that's plausible that he could have seen something like that. Yeah, it's actually a pretty good artist rendering, if you ask me.
Yeah. So he said it was reported to the Minister of Defense and the Royal Navy. They prevented the photographs, and that was passed on. The photos was passed on. It was buried beneath what are now the playing field, just what I said, the soccer field of St. Ninian's School in Gourock. So I'm thinking those poor kids, they're playing soccer. What happens if one of those bones all of a sudden pops out, and somebody trips over it? Who gets the penalty kick? Which side gets the penalty kick? John, you're the sports guy.
I'm going to say that the game should be just canceled on that point if something like that happened. And
canceled on account of Loch Ness monster. That would make
you just leave the field and go home.
And you heard it first on What in the World from our sports guy, John Donalo. And John, what a great lead in to your segment, What in the World of Sports, because that's my last story of the week. Now Now, John, I have to, I've known John since we were in college. John is obviously, for those of you who watch the show, he's a sports fan extraordinaire, knows more about sports than I could ever possibly attempt to learn. John was really excited about the story that we're going to talk about this week, and you'll find out why he was so excited. While so John, why don't you give us the lead in while I get your photographs ready?
Oh, sure, Paul. Thanks for the introduction here. Okay, Paul, Karen and audience. So our sport this week is somewhat conventional and not so odd. It is flag football.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Now, many people have participated in this sport. In fact, both Paul and I played flag football when we were in college.
That's right. We sure did.
However,
Delta Alpha Theta.
yeah. However, I will confess we weren't good enough to make the Olympics, which is why we are featuring flag football this week. Get ready for this. Flag football has been added to the 2028 Summer Olympics that are going to be held in Los Angeles.
Unbelievable. Flag football is going to be in the Olympics.
Yes. Now, flag football, what it is, for those that are not aware, it's a variation of American football. Instead of tackling players to the ground, the defensive team must remove a flag or flag belt from the ball carrier to end it down. Flag football is truly an American sport. It originated in the early 1940s during World War II, when it was called touch and tail football.
Wow.
It was created for American military personnel as a way to keep them fit and to avoid injuries. The first recorded game of flag football can be traced to Fort Meade, Maryland. Now, I have a further personal comment for you on this. My dad served in the U.S. Army in the Second World War. He was actually stationed at Fort Meade, Maryland.
Wow.
And he would explain to me and my brothers and my sister and my mom that he actually participated in this sport.
Wow.
And, the reference came back to me because I know my dad had trained there, but he said that, again, they played it, you said, quite a lot for the purpose you just said, to keep the soldiers fit. And this is before he was, shipped overseas, to, fight in the war. But that was an amazing connection here that my dad, I would bring it up to him. But yeah, it's kind of interesting that he was actually doing that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. Wow, what a connection.
Yeah, really. Now, the first recorded game of flag football is traced to Fort Meade, as I said. The first national flag football organization, this is for you, Karen. It is called the National Touch Football Organization, and it was formed in the 1960s in St. Louis, Missouri. Since 1971, the league has held an annual national championship game. Now, the international governing body for the sport, there's another body here that oversees it, is the International Federation of American Football, or the IFAF. Yeah. Wait. The biggest innovation to the game can be traced to two teachers in Arizona, named Porter Wilson and Norman Adams, and they invented the flag tag belts and the flags used today.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, while it is based on American football, the specific rules of flag football vary widely by league. Get ready for this. The number of players on the field can range from as many as 9 to as few as 4.
4, wow.
Size can vary. For the extra size Canadian football field, or the conventional 100-yard field that is, people watch when they're, watching NFL games. And it's interesting that there are so many variations of this. You're not limited, you don't have to, stay within this number of players, or, stay in this type of rule. So there's a lot of play with it again. Now, some leagues ban blocking, which I can personally tell you there was a lot of blocking in our league.
You better believe it.
There was a lot of physical contact in that sport. Now, some of the sports, you cannot do anything of blocking a person below the waist, or as I was penalized a couple of times for leaving your feet trying to block the person rushing into the quarterback. But
Right.
but there's there's even like a co-ed flag football leagues, so it's not just for guys, and it's played on surfaces other than grass. It's actually played on sandy beaches.
Wow.
Flag football has been featured at the Asian Beach Games. So it's a pretty interesting sport. It's truly an all-American sport, and it can provide competition and a good workout for all ages and genders, while keeping the risk of injuries low. And the best part of it all, this sport has made it to the Summer Olympics before pickleball.
Yeah. Take it to the pickleball players. Yeah.
No offense to friends who play pickleball. My friend John, he plays pickleball, and him and his wife enjoy it. So, and that's
Everybody who plays pickleball enjoys it until they get injured. Which happens more often than you realize.
I have a
yeah,
question.
boy,
You said this is played on the sand. How do you know what the yard line is when you're playing on the sand?
Great question, Karen. We were looking for information about that. We did research on that. We really couldn't come up with anything. We're
Okay.
going on a source that we really cannot name at this point.
It's on the honor system.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay.
There you go. There you have it.
Honor system flag football. Well, John, wow, what a great sport. The with so many connections to us, and plus the fact that it's going to be in the Olympics. I think it's a good enough, it's a good enough sport for the Olympics. People run back and forth and chase each other and block. No tackling, so nobody gets too hurt. Kind of like, synchronized swimming. Synchronized football. So now the people who watch the show or listen to the show know that at the end of sports, I generally remind John that we participated in this sport when we were in college, and I managed to find some really funny photos to go along with it, which are a spoof. Now John always, honest John, as we used to call him, he was in the clean club in the fraternity. He likes to have real photos, as you've heard all throughout the show with the photos of Bigfoot. So John has provided us this week with a real photo of real fraternity brothers playing real flag football. Let's see if I can bring it up here. Yeah. Oh no, that's a couple of girls there. Here we go. This is in front. No, I don't think this is at our school. This is at some other field.
Yeah, you know where that was? That was held at. There was a practice that we had like during the day at Case Western Reserve University.
Oh,
Okay.
Cleveland, yeah.
Ontario campus where Paul and I went to school at. And the person in the center is give a shout out to Dan if he's watching. I'm to the right of him, and there's some other guys that are fraternity brothers that unfortunately some of them have passed, but most of us,
most of them are still with us. Dan had nowhere near that much hair. John's sideburns are much shorter, but what a great photo! What a great photo there. And you may notice that I'm not in the photo. That was the year I played rugby, so I'm not sure if we may have had rugby practice back then or something like that. But anyways, thank you, John, for that fabulous photo. And really for the story about your dad being at Fort Meade and actually playing flag football. What a great connection.
Yeah, I'll tell my brother, about that because to me, it's kind of interesting. Yeah.
No kidding. No kidding. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, let's see if we can bring ourselves back to full screen photos here. How about that? Wow. Let's see if that works. Did you say something, Karen?
No, I didn't say a word.
Oh, you did. Okay. All right. I thought I'm not going to say anything. All right. So at the end of What in the World of Sport, who's listened before knows that it's time for Bluff the co-host, everybody's favorite weird news game. Rules are real simple. I have 3 stories similar to the ones we've been talking about all afternoon. Big difference. Those were all real stories. The stories I have in Bluff the co-host may be real, may be a bluff. It's up to John, Karen, and those of you playing at home to decide real or bluff. Gambling is allowed, so place your bets. John and Karen, hands on your buzzer. Let's get right to story number 1. Residents of a city in New Zealand are calling for a ban on siren battles between teenagers who mount giant speakers on the outside of their cars and then drive around all night playing Celine Dion songs, which have been distorted to sound even worse than regular Celine Dion songs. The teens compete to see whose car is the loudest and whose sound is the worst. It's so bad that some people say their houses actually vibrate during these siren battles. But the police have been unable to catch the kids because they turn off the noise before the cops can get there. While the local politicians try to pass a ban on these siren battles, Celine Dion herself is asking people, don't blame her and just be grateful the cars aren't playing polkas. Okay, so the city in New Zealand where siren battles between kids with loudspeakers on their cars blasting Celine Dion songs are disturbing the locals. What do you say, Karen? Real or bluff?
Well, if you told me that it was somebody like Katy Perry or Taylor Swift, I would believe it. But Celine Dion, nah. So I'm going to say thanks for the story. Don't believe
okay.
it.
All right. Good reasoning there, right there. So Karen says it's a bluff. John, how about you?
I've got a different view on this, with the understanding that, these are teenagers, right? So, maybe they're goofing or making fun of Celine Dion. So maybe that's a reason for that. But to me, this sounds like a realistic situation. So I'm going to say it's true.
True. So John says it's true. Realistic teen prank.
Yeah, exactly.
We might call it. Yeah. Okay. So John says it's true. Karen says it's a bluff. That city is being overrun by teenagers blasting Celine Dion songs on their loudspeakers. Let's check with the judges, and the judges say, believe it or not, congratulations, John. That is a real story.
Yeah,
And
well,
Karen,
I told you I didn't study.
I know. The reason why they chose Celine Dion is because of the tone of her voice. God bless her. She has such a clear tone that they said that it distorts better. And
Okay.
I ask an audio engineer to explain that. I don't understand it. But
Okay.
anyways, John, what really matters is that John is ahead 1-0. So,
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
But as I mentioned to you, Karen, before, blind squirrel theory. So,
Yeah.
so, who knows what happens next?
there you go. Well, we're going to find out with story number 2. Hands on the buzzers. We have amateur wrestling, professional wrestling, and even mud wrestling in the United States. But the hot new sport in France is nun wrestling. A religious order in southern France came up with the idea as a way to raise money for a new convent, and they collected so much that other orders have joined in. The nuns wear their full habits, and no clothing ripping or hair grabbing is allowed, but the rest of the rules are just like school wrestling with 3-minute bouts. Yes, the local bishop has approved the nun wrestling and has even joined in as the announcer. The monthly events draw both Catholics and non-Catholics, and everyone agrees it's a good, clean fun for a good, clean cause. Okay, John, someone who's familiar with nuns, nun wrestling in France, real or bluff?
I'm going to say that this one's a bluff. Is it possible that you could have an order of nuns doing something like this? But the fact of you indicating that the bishop is the announcer, I just don't see that.
It's France, John.
Well, I still don't see it.
All right, so John said it's a bluff. Karen, how about you? What do you say?
Well, I think they would get tangled up in their habits before they could even wrestle. So I have to agree with John. It's a little fictitious in my mind.
Oh, even if they have special wrestling habits, maybe
You didn't say that.
that's right. I didn't.
Well,
Yeah.
Paul,
Ooh, caught in my own trap here. All right, so John and Karen both say it's a bluff. That the judges are nodding their heads. You're both right. That is a bluff.
all right,
Thank
wait,
God. Okay.
All right, that puts the score at 2-1. John is ahead, but everybody knows points are double in round number 3. So Karen could come roaring back and steal victory out of John's hand. So let's see what happens here with story number 3. It turns out humans may not be the only species worried about covering up their bald spots. Marine biologists in Australia have spotted whales off the coast throwing seaweed on their heads and wearing it like a toupee. Marine biologists alerted to the behavior now report seeing wigged whales off the coast of Alaska, California, Canada, and French Polynesia. The whales put on their toupees by grabbing a mouthful of seaweed, throwing it up in the air, and then swimming through it. While whales are hairy mammals, the biologists think the main reason for wearing seaweed on their heads is that their heads are sensitive and it makes them feel good. While they probably feel better if it made them feel sexier, the whales seem to be spreading the news and training others to enjoy wearing a head full of seaweed. Okay, whales with toupees made out of seaweed, real or bluff? Karen, we'll go back to you. What do you say?
See, I'm very concerned about the whales because if that seaweed gets stuck on their blowhole, they're not going to be able to breathe.
Oh, you know more about marine biology than I thought.
So I'm going to say this is a fake.
Okay, Karen says it's a bluff. John, how about you?
yeah, I agree with Karen. I think it's a bluff also. It just seems to be too difficult to have seaweed on that whale's head. I just don't, not to be funny, I don't see the connection.
That's right. Don't be funny. That's my job. All right, so Karen and John both agree that seaweed toupees on whales is a bluff. Let's check with the judges, and the judges say Google seaweed on whale heads, and you will see videos of whales wearing seaweed toupees on their head. Real story.
Wow.
Isn't that
Okay.
amazing?
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe we should try it, John. I don't know. Or stick with hats.
Well, John wins again.
Yeah, John wins again. Congratulations, John. Boy,
thanks.
1 week off did you good. Yeah.
Do okay, and some days maybe not so good, but yeah, I'm kind of in a mood right now. So that's been helping me with studying now. That's not it's not only when we lose or when I lose, like when we win, she wants to make sure I can come up with some of these other things. So just try to keep my mind sharp. So
Got it.
So John's in a better mood all week. We know the real. And hopefully, John, your winning streak will extend through Sunday when the Browns play Seattle.
Yes.
So
yeah, that would be outstanding. That would be great.
that's right. Okay, well, we've reached the end of another fun edition of What in the World. I want to thank Karen Hale, our co-host, producer, media mogul at newclevelandradio.net. Thank you, Karen, for everything you do for all of us at New Cleveland Radio. Please visit our visit her website. Find out how to locate us on Spotify and all the other sites for free. Also, is this immediate or very soon you'll be able to have a transcript of the show? So
it will be in the show notes. Yes.
The show notes. Okay, so this is great. If you miss something, our friend Brian down in West Virginia won't have to take notes anymore. We'll provide you with notes, Brian.
Absolutely.
And as always, thank my old buddy John Dinello for What in the World of Sports, for being a great color commentator and all around good guy. Thanks so much for the additional information on personalization of the sport. That was really great. And hopefully you'll have a smile on your face next week because of another Browns victory.
So
Sounds
thank
good.
you, Karen. Thank you, and audience. Thanks.
Yes, and finally, thank you to everybody out there, especially those that we've done shout outs to. I'm not going to mention you again. If you want to get a shout out, send me a Facebook notice, or send Karen an email, or meet up with us at weddings.
Yeah.
That sounds good too.
That's right. We love to recognize our fans, and we thank you so much for listening. I hope you have as much fun listening to the show as we do putting it together. And on that note, we will be back next week. Are we on Halloween? Is that our day?
Next week, let me tell you, it is the 31st.
Yeah.
We can be on. I don't.
Okay.
see
Yeah. Oh
any
yeah. No,
problem
we'll
with that.
definitely be. Maybe we'll have some Halloween stories.
Sounds good.
Sounds
I
great.
just have to be able to shut